Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Beste broeders, beste zusters. Er is de afgelopen tijd, de afgelopen maanden, maar zeker ook de afgelopen weken, zijn er eigenlijk maar heel erg weinig onderwerpen die zo ontiegelijk veel met ons hebben gedaan, als eigenlijk twee onderwerpen waar we het vanavond over gaan hebben. Allereerst de situatie die we zien, die we observeren in Palestina, die we observeren natuurlijk in Gaza, de westelijke Jordaan, over Libanon op dit moment. De verschrikkingen die daar plaatsvinden en ook de ontwikkelingen die we daarin zien in het internationale gemeenschap op dit moment. Ten tweede is het zo dat we natuurlijk de afgelopen weken, sinds de komst eigenlijk van dit kabinet wat we hebben, maar zeker sinds de afgelopen weken met de gebeurtenissen ook in Amsterdam, dat we zien dat het anti-islam sentiment wat we aantreffen in de Nederlandse politiek en in de Nederlandse samenleving nog veel duidelijker naar voren komt. En we zien dat deze twee verhalen zich enorm door elkaar aan het verweven zijn. Dus we zien dat aan de ene kant datgene wat wij zien vanuit de politiek, waar ze soms al langere jaren over spreken, maar nu wat heel erg duidelijk naar de voorgrond komt, dat heel veel raakvlakken heeft en ook op een bepaalde manier zeg maar momentum wordt gecreëerd vanuit de manier waarop de discussie over Palestina ook in Nederland gevoerd wordt. En ik vind het heel fijn dat we daar vanavond met Sheikh Haitham alHaddad over kunnen spreken. De Sheikh komt vanuit Engeland en dat betekent ook dat ik dus vanaf nu de rest van de livestream zal overschakelen naar het Engels. So Sheikh Haitham, we are so honored and happy to have you here with us in the Netherlands again. And
the honor is mine.
Yeah. Well, it's almost not like we're really welcoming you again. Like it's like you almost live here now, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So
not in terms of the number of days I spend here, but in terms of the number of days my heart is here.
Yeah, and every time I see you also with the same entourage and so many familiar people. So it's really.
Jazakallah khair.
So,
and you know that I consider Holland as my second hometown.
Yes. Well, you know, we welcome you always. Well, usually, we love to welcome you to talk to you about things that we love, things that we appreciate, things that inspire us. But the live stream of today will have a little bit of a more sad character, because I think that the majority of the reasons why we're going to speak today are things which make us sad, in a sense. So. Regardless of that, I hope that we will have a positive live stream now, and that at least we will be able to come with some positive ideas. But so
Jazakallah khair.
The first thing I want to talk to you about is that one of the things that of course has been going on in the minds of so many Muslims and in the hearts of so many Muslims and in the tears and in the dua of so many Muslims for more than a year now, obviously for more than decades, but especially for the last year and especially the last couple of months, is the conflict that is going on now.
The massacre, you mean?
The massacre, I mean. No, the genocide, I mean.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to hide behind neutral terms. In regards to our Palestinian brothers and sisters. And before we go into the analysis of the situation, this is a conflict or a massacre. But the situation regarding Palestine is something that, for you personally, has a more personal element to it than maybe some of the other things that we see in the Islamic community, like for instance the situation we see in Burma or in other countries. I think that the Palestinian situation is more close to heart to you. Can you explain to us why?
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. First of all, I want to comment on what you mentioned, the sadness that we are going through. But leave it aside for the moment now. I'd like to say that I'm originally Palestinian. I am from Gaza. I'm from Gaza, from the original people of Gaza. And I am from a place called al-Zaytun. Al-Zaytun now it is in the news because it is heavily targeted by the genociders. And just for information, We counted the number of people who were killed or, inshallah, martyred from my father's side, and with alHaddad. Almost 6 months ago, the number, roughly speaking, was more than 130 people. This is from my father's side only, let alone from my mother's side, let alone from the other cousins or the extended family. I remember one of my cousins, he was killed in the 3rd week with 14 members of his family in the spot. A missile killed his wife, his children, one is left, and his grandchildren as well. Anyway, these things became usual things, unfortunately, in front of the entire world. Now, see, many people don't know about the suffering Palestinians went through. Palestinians, by the way, what the Palestinians living in quote-unquote historical Palestine or Gaza or the West Bank, they are going through something that maybe no other nation went through for this long period of time. But leave them. Many people don't know that Palestinians outside Palestine, they suffered also a lot. Globally, they suffered. By the way, they say when Israel was established in 1948, or we call it the first occupation, there were 1.5 million Palestinians living there, and there were more than 2 million Muslims or Palestinians living there. Almost 1 million have been displaced at that time. Now, outside Palestine, let me just tell you about myself, the nature of suffering I went through. When I finished my high school in Saudi Arabia, I wanted to go and study medicine. Yeah, this was my initial ambition. And by the way, Palestinians, they like education, and because what they went through, they believe that education, these are the Palestinians outside historical Palestine, they believe that it is the only weapon they have to fight the difficulties and the challenges they will go through. So that's why we like education. And by the way, Palestine one time was the first country in the world in terms of education. Gaza, by the way, in 2000, I think 11, it had the maximum number.
Literacy, right?
Yes, literacy. And the number of people who have PhDs in Gaza. Anyway, I wanted to go, let us go back to my story. I wanted to study medicine. Imagine, I could not find any country that would accept me to study medicine. In fact, Palestinians were not allowed to travel to most of the countries.
Although you were in Saudi Arabia.
Although I was in Saudi Arabia. Okay. I remember, let me just tell you a joke, but it represents the situation. We used to hold something called travel document, Egyptian travel document, which is not a passport, issued by the Egyptian authorities for the people who lived in Gaza or who were in Gaza. We were not allowed to go to Egypt, although it is a travel document issued by who?
By the
Egyptians.
Government.
By the Egyptians. So, just by common sense, these are the authorities who issued us the travel document, so we are allowed to go to Egypt. We were not allowed to go to Egypt. This is number one. Okay. Of course, so I could not go to Egypt to study medicine. There was another opportunity to study medicine in Syria. Syria at that time was led by alHaddad, Hafid al-Assad, and they used to say, oh, we welcome any Arab this is the Republican Syrian, and they are reforming the Arab, the Arabs, etc., etc. At that time, they were competing with the Iraqis regarding Arab reform, something like this. So I called the Syrian embassy, and I said, "Assalamu alaikum, alaikum assalam." I said, "I want to get a visa in order to visit Syria to explore the possibility of me studying there." And then the guy, he gave me a lecture about Syria, and that Syria has opened its arms for all Arabs, and don't tell me that you need, as an Arab person, that you need a visa. No, you are most welcome. And he started to lecture me about the role of Syria in the Arab Renaissance. I said to him, just 1 second, please, 1 second, listen to me. I said, I hold an Egyptian travel document. Yeah? So can you please double check? He said, okay, 1 minute. He went and he came back and he said, sorry, we cannot issue you a visa, let alone, okay, we cannot allow you in the country. I went to Yemen. I met the consulate there, and I told him I want to go and study Yemen. He said, travel document, not allowed to go to Yemen. I said, but Yemen is a Republican, etc., etc. He said, whatever, there is no visa for Palestinians. I said, or even for a study. He said, it's not my problem. We don't issue a visa. We were not allowed to go to maybe most of the Arab countries. This is something Palestinians went through, let alone the level of other political struggle, financial struggles that they went through in different Arab countries, in different Muslim countries. Okay, this is part of our struggle. So people don't know what Palestinians went through. Now, of course, we see the massacres, we see the genocide, but what my point is, Palestinians since 1948 are subject to challenges, whether civil challenges outside Palestine or historical Palestine, and inside Palestine they are subject to massacres. Do you know, by the way, many people think that this atrocity started on 7th of October. Do you know that since 1948, 70 massacres took place against the Palestinians? 70 massacres took place against the Palestinians they call it historical Palestine, whereby more than 15,000, this is the minimum, okay, 15,000 people were massacred, including most of them are children and women. In a Tantura massacre, one massacre, around 2,000 people were killed, and the documentary of the massacre of Tantura Tantura is next to so-called Tel Aviv now. Mm-hmm. Okay, it is you can't find the documentary, and still some of the soldiers, the quote-unquote Israeli soldiers who participated in that massacre, they were interviewed and they were laughing when they were talking about killing children, killing women, stabbing pregnant women, and so on. This is just one massacre in Tantura, is not known. Deir Yassin massacre, around also 2,000 people were killed. They were killed in just one day. So the Palestinian plight have started even before 1948. But this history, it is very unfortunate that the world has forgotten about that history, or they want to forget about that history, and they want to project that it has started, or this massacre or this conflict, call it whatever you want to call it, just started after October 7th.
Yeah, so this actually leads to one of the first topics that I want to address, because I remember growing up from from the moment I became a little bit aware of international situations and stuff like that. I mean, I grew up with the first Gulf War on what we call Jeugdjournaal. So it's like a news for children. And you hear about the situation between, in Palestine with Israel. And I'm 41 years old now, and it's still ongoing.
Yeah.
And when I hear people talk about peace in the Middle East or promising peace in the Middle East, it doesn't only sound theoretical to me, it sounds utopian.
Yes.
If you have decades of injustice and people promising and talking about hope and a situation that's only deteriorating further, as a Muslim now, because I'm a Muslim now, alhamdulillah, I didn't grow up, but I'm a Muslim now. I didn't grow up as a Muslim, I didn't grow up as well, but that's a different story. So we are supposed to have hope, right? We're supposed to believe in a bright future. How are we to do that? And honestly, it feels a little bit bad for me to even ask this question when I'm not a Palestinian myself. Right? So I'm like an outsider complaining about how sad I am. But also for the Palestinian people themselves, how, also from a theological perspective, how can we cling on to hope when peace sounds so utopian?
Okay, excellent. So now let me just link this question with the previous question. I just want to mention a continuation. In brief, you asked me about my view as a Palestinian, how do I see this? For me, okay, as a Palestinian, as a Muslim, okay, the Palestinians are struggling against one of the last occupations that are supported by the global superpowers. And in fact, for me, the struggle of Palestinians is a struggle towards a more just world, it is a struggle towards a just world. This is how we look at it and how I look at it. It's not just the struggle of the Palestinians. Palestinians are struggling, fighting, resisting on behalf of those who want to be independent from the hegemony of some global superpowers. This is in brief, because see, and by the way, if Palestinians do not succeed in their struggle and they did not get their rights, their full rights, then that will be a disaster, a global disaster. Because what does it mean? It means that any superpower, and we have 5 veto countries, as you know, 5 superpowers.
You mean veto powers in the United Nations Security Council? In the United Nations.
They can get on with whatever they want, and no one can stop them. So today is the Palestinians. Of course, we have also the plight of our brothers and sisters in East Turkestan, and China can use and will use and have used that veto against them. Of course, before that, we have the struggle of many Muslims in the ex-USSR countries. They were the Angush Muslims, and they were the Chechenian Muslims, and so many. Okay, so, and then of course we have America as a superpower. It can, yes, it can do whatever it wants to do, and no one can stop it. We see now, okay, let us put the Palestinian plight aside. We see now the conflict in Ukraine, or they want to call it the massacre in Ukraine. But how many people were killed among the Ukrainians? And immediately America moved against Putin and against Russia. the whole Western world, and we have seen recently that America have allowed Kiev or allowed Ukraine to use the ultra-sound missiles against Russia, and they have attacked Russia, the territory of Russia, and that's why Putin now is threatening by using the nuclear power, and they mandated what they call the nuclear ideology or mandate. So why is this happening? Because Russia is a superpower. It can veto anything that can take place against what? Against them. Easily. So that, and see, this leads us to more serious discussion, which is now the international system is about to fail. Whether the international law, whether the UN, whether the ICC, whether the ICJ, they are about to fall apart. How many resolutions have been taken by, have been declared by the UN against Israel? Has Israel adhered to a single United Nations resolution throughout since 1948? No. And America, I forgot the exact number, used the veto number of times. 90% of the times America used the veto was in favor of Israel. Yeah? So we are now, let us not look at what is happening in Gaza from a micro perspective. Let us look at it from a macro perspective. This is a global conflict. That's why the potential for it to expand and create another third world war or another global conflict, even if we do not call it a third world war, the potential is very high. Yes? And see, if the Palestinians lost this, it means that all countries, as they say, the third world, will remain under the occupation of one of the superpowers, whether direct occupation or indirect occupation, which means that no one has the right to live and to survive independently without being colonized in a one way or another by the five superpowers. Yes, no one is allowed to live independently, and no nation can decide for themselves how to live. So this is the real conflict. This is how we should look at the conflict. That's why, see, there are some wise people globally who are aware of the scale of that conflict, and they don't see it that it is just a genocide that is taking place by the Israelis against the Gaza. They say that they see it as a genocide for the global system. It is a genocide against the international justice. It is a genocide against the so-called free world. It is a genocide against any nation that wants to live independently, and they want to have self-autonomy of what they want or how they want to live.
This is one of the things that I find so difficult, because one of the things that is so often said to criticize the Muslim community or specific Muslim preachers or Muslim mosques or institutions in our country is that from the political, that by politicians state that some of these are a threat to the rechtsstaat, so like the practice of the rule of law, or the democratic system of our country. But at the same time, if I'm really honest, one of the majority of my worries for the last decade, but especially for the last couple of years, is the implosion of the international rule of law. And the thing that you are referring to, so I'm a little bit involved in the Myanmar struggle, right, with the Rohingya. And because I've been there multiple times. And you also see within the United Nations Security Council that China uses their veto in favor of the Myanmar military junta, which they have a political aim for. First, obviously, because if they are going to allow UNSC involvement in Southeast Asia when it comes to atrocities with Muslims. Well, they have their own atrocities against Muslims, so they don't want to have that move. Second, because they want to have a pipeline through the Arakan Mountains to have a sea there. So you see that the United Nations Security Council in a dunya right? So I'm not going to be theological here, but within the organizational structures that we have, it's the most powerful structure if they reach consensus. Again, so I'm not...
And they will never reach consensus because of what?
Because of veto.
Because of veto, the power of veto, which means that those countries are above the world, above the law.
Yes.
Above the law. There is no law, there is no rule of law. And imagine the world is living without a rule of law.
Yeah, so this is a big problem, and especially for some reason I'm so surprised that Dutch politicians are not going into this discussion much firmer, because the ICJ, so the International Court of Justice,
which is located
in The Hague, in the Vredespaleis, and the ICC, the International Criminal Court, which is also located in The Hague. And The Hague is called the city of justice and peace. Right? So, to some extent, the self-image of the Netherlands, one of the things that we are so proud of to be the Netherlands and to be Dutch, is that we are hosting these two vital organs for international rule of law.
Exactly.
And now we're in a situation where we're seeing that, you know, if we're not using the ICC and the ICJ against African leaders, but against, and not against some Serbian guy that we didn't like, and not against some Arab dictators that we didn't like, but now that it's starting to be used to criticize
by any of the superpowers.
Exactly. But now we're seeing that it's being used to an ally. And it falls apart.
Exactly. And look, you see, the whole world is watching this. You know,
and I'm not happy. I'm in shock.
That's why. See, now we need especially the younger generation. And by the way, there was some good statistics just a few days ago that emerged that 9 out of 10 of the young British, not Muslims, young British, they are following the news closely. Okay, so we need the younger generation globally, and in particular in Europe and in America, to rise up, to ask for more just system. Because until now, the way the politicians are dealing with them, they are dealing with them, maybe, I don't know whether we can use, as dumb people. They are just treating them as not human beings, that they don't exist. These,
or at least not relevant. Not relevant.
No, they don't exist. These demonstrations that were attended by millions of people.
Ignored.
Ignored, as if they did not come. In fact, they are trying to what? To silence them by setting certain laws and using this, that these are, in Britain we have seen this, in the Netherlands and in many other places, and in America they are trying to do this, that any demonstration against Israel should be classified as anti-Semite or anti-Semitic demonstration or move, and it should be banned. Now, do they think, well, the politicians, do they think that the people are stupid? They don't see the reality? When young people see that America, Biden praised the ICC because they have issued a warrant against Putin.
Yeah.
And then they see the same country, their own country, that have praised, the ICC because of that against Putin. They see that they are criticizing, and they issued, strong statements against the ICC because what? It issued a warrant, or arrest warrant against Netanyahu and Gallant.
Yeah.
Okay, so when they see this double standard, when they see this hypocrisy, they will believe more. They're already starting to believe that the international law has failed to, and their own country, as a leading country, has failed to deliver justice to the world.
Now, the thing is, so we're talking now.
Yeah.
We have people that are watching us, our viewers.
Yeah.
Right? There are so many elements to this story which can be really discouraging.
Yeah.
But I don't hope that our contribution will be one of discouragement.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with the observation that it appears to be that all the peaceful demonstrations were ignored.
Mm-hmm.
And the non-peaceful demonstrations...
Not just ignored. Yeah?
Yeah.
Criticized, fought against.
Also, okay,
yeah.
Yes.
Were about to be criminalized even. Yeah.
And then when there actually was violence, like we've seen in Amsterdam,
Yeah, exactly.
which, by the way, is wrong, obviously, because we don't want any civilians to be fighting with any other civilians in the streets, regardless of the cause, regardless of the struggle.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
If you're watching this live stream right now, for a Muslim in the Netherlands or in a Western European country, because we're speaking English now, so we might have a wider audience, what should we be doing that is constructive?
Okay, that is a very good question. By the way, I just, if you allow me for a minute, just to continue explaining the reality of the situation. I'm asking, and one of the brothers were about to have a debate with Piers Morgan. I said, ask him just one question. Ask anyone one question. What do you suggest Palestinians should do?
Yeah. End of the debate. Please lay down and be killed peacefully.
Yes, and just, you don't need even to shout. Otherwise, you are a terrorist.
No, they should thank. Yeah.
They should thank the one who is killing them.
Yeah.
Yeah? No, honestly.
Yeah.
What do you want Palestinians to do?
I so often remember a report which was written, and I'm quoting by mind now, I think it was Crisis Group, which is an international analysis think tank. Yeah. When the Rohingya community were excluded from the Burmese political, democratical revolution, by the way, when they were revolutionizing and becoming a democratic country, they excluded the Rohingya people.
Yeah.
Immediately they stated this will open the doors to violence.
Yes.
Because you're excluding these people from using democratic means.
Yes,
to achieve, to end the injustice.
Their suffering.
So if you exclude people from peaceful ways to end suffering, you will find that some of them will become violent. Now this of course doesn't. So and this of course doesn't say that it's good. It's an observation.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is how the mechanism works.
Yeah. Exactly. So the question remains: what does the world want? Okay, Palestinians to do? Even the United States. Look, since the time of Bush, I remember, they said, we need
First or second?
Yeah, both actually. Both, okay, Bush, the junior, anyway, okay, I don't want someone to quote me. And okay, even Obama, yeah, in between. They said they all supported two-state solutions. But you know what? Obama one time was asked.
This is also the official Dutch position, by the way.
Yeah, but he was asked about the settlements. He said the settlements, we should take what is happening on the ground floor into account, which means that, yes, two-state solutions, and as Biden in the beginning said, that a state can have different forms. So the maximum they can present to the Palestinians, the maximum they can present to the Palestinians, that you can have a form of so-called a state. Powerless, no weapons, no, do you know, just, of course, I just remembered now that the Israeli occupation in the West Bank steals the water of the Palestinians in West Bank.
They stated it publicly.
Yeah, they are proud of this.
Mm-hmm.
So let us ask the American administration. So what kind of a state you want? You want them to be powerless? Yes. You want them with no resources, no water, begging the other state, yes, in order to survive. Is this the kind of a state that you are dreaming about? And then Trump said more or less the same thing. And now even this two-state solution has disappeared. Even, look, this is something that many people don't know. When the Arab leaders, King Abdullah, he proposed the land for peace deal, yes, and they said that, okay, this is maybe because the conflict has been there, etc., let us offer this. And the PLO, as the representative of the Palestinians, accepted that, and that led to Oslo. When the real negotiation came, it was not peace for land. Israel, or the occupation, they divided the West Bank into areas, A, B, and C, okay, where, and do you know that there are more than 700,000 settlers living in the West Bank, and they have all the resources, and the Palestinians are left with no resources. Okay, now, why we are saying this? We are saying this, that Palestinians have been left from all angles with no hope in the international law, no hope to see any kind of justice, no hope of course, in the Muslim world, in the Arab world. So, what do you suggest? What do you recommend for Palestinians? Just everyone is just attacking the Palestinians. They don't want the Palestinians to resist. They don't want Palestinians to. They don't want Palestinians to live. In fact, one time I said, do they believe that Palestinians are normal human beings like other human beings? Yeah, obviously the Zionists, they don't believe that Palestinians are normal human beings. And Gallant, Smotrich, and Netanyahu, all of them have statements that these Palestinians are not normal human beings. Okay, so this is the situation that we need to be aware of, and Palestinians or the world is monitoring or watching without doing anything. Yeah. Now, see, back to your question. See, we have Muslims and we have non-Muslims. And to be honest with you, what I have seen among non-Muslims in the West, that the majority of them, yeah, they have seen the truth, and they want to, and they want to come, or they want to support the truth, yeah, as much as they can. We have seen them in America, in Britain, in the Netherlands, etc.
I personally know people from a business, they're part of my business network, which are non-Muslims, which are very much putting in a lot of effort with demonstrations, with calling out for the truth on social media, on the streets, etc., which are non-Muslims, which are very vocal.
Yes, I have seen many of the non-Muslims in demonstrations. Wallahi, it is something that is really overwhelming. I have seen a person who was 74, and he told me that, and he was limping, and he told me that he has been attending demonstrations for the last 40 years of his life. He said, but the demonstrations we attend in support of the Palestinians are different. And he said, this is a very close cause for my heart. So we need to differentiate. And Muslims have to be, in general, we need to differentiate between governments, political leadership, and the masses. The masses, they see the truth, and they want to support the truth. And Israel, for so many of them, became a toxic genocidal state. And the lies the Israelis have or used to put forward before the world are not anymore accepted.
Yeah, and I don't think that what you're saying applies to everybody, but I do think that especially in the last year, we saw that a critical mass is emerging, which is no longer abiding the previous narrative.
I agree. We are not saying, of course, everybody, but we're saying that the majority.
Yes.
Yani if you were to say, one time I had a discussion with the journalist. I say, okay, now we have seen demonstrations attended by millions in support of the Palestinians. How many people are going out in support of the genociders or the Israelis? Are you telling me that these millions don't see the truth of what is happening and only politicians see the truth? He, of course, he tried to, change it, and even to the level that he said to me, yeah, because the Israelis and the Jewish people, and they are intimidated by the pro-Palestine.
Yeah, but we even see people from the Jewish community speaking out now. And not only regarding the situations of last year, but especially so we had this incident in Amsterdam, right, with the Israeli hooligans, right, and there was violence in the streets, and everybody was very upset, and especially the politicians, they immediately jumped on it, and they stated that it showed that a part of the Moroccan youth or Moroccan youth in general have a problem with integration, etc. None of the hooligans were charged with anything. They were allowed to leave the country.
Oh.
Zero.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So even the VVD, which is one of the law and order political party, which is a part of the government right now, they did not. I didn't hear anybody of them stating that they found it was a problem that foreign hooligans committed crimes, and none of them were charged. So there's a little bit of a bias there. Well, very, very big little bit of a bias. But
it's not little, you mean?
Yeah, no, it's enormous. But what happens is that from that moment, you see that the narrative and the vocabulary used by politicians to criticize the Muslim community and linking the integration and the far-right narrative to the Israeli-Gaza conflict, and they're conflating these two together. So if you are pro-Palestine, which, by the way, I don't even consider myself to be pro-Palestine. I'm against killing children.
Exactly.
Right? I'm against shooting civilians. Right? I don't really care who you're shooting at. Right? But honestly, one second. So they're conflating this. Now we see a lot of people from the Jewish community. But we're seeing a lot of people from the Jewish community saying that this way of talking about a minority doesn't feel right to them.
Yes.
And they are feeling uncomfortable with the
Yeah.
fact that our politicians are speaking. So it's even from the Jewish community that we feel the support that this narrative is not.
Yeah,
but still, I'd like to come back to the thing. So if you are right now, if you're a Muslim or a non-Muslim, by the way, in this country, and we're witnessing these atrocities, we're witnessing injustice, and we're witnessing a deterioration of the international rule of law. Right? We hope that people are able to use positive means for the better.
Yes.
Now, I can sit here and say, make dua and give €5 of sadaqah. But honestly, that's we're a little bit past that, it seems.
Yeah. See, number of things have to be done. And by the way, so many people are asking about this. The key point is we need to continue talking, marching, supporting the rights of the Palestinians, talking about it. We need to make this genocide as the main atrocity that is taking place globally. And we need to make it present and the minds at the minds of everyone, whether Muslim or non-Muslims. And we need to make it as the top headlines of any news. And that's why we need social media activists, all types of social media activists. We need artists, we need even sports people to keep talking about it and to keep supporting the Palestinians. Because once it is still alive in the mindset of people, Muslims and non-Muslims, inshallah, that will help will help the situation and will exercise pressure on the politicians. This is one thing. So media is so important. Activism in media, social media, mainstream media is so important. This is one thing. The other thing is we need to start, or actually we have started that, but we need more bodies, to support Palestine from a legal perspective, to represent the Palestinians in front of the international law, locally.
With bodies, you mean organizations?
Organizations.
Yes.
Organizations to defend the Palestinians' rights from a legal perspective. Even, one time we were speaking with some with some organizations that we as Arabs, we are Semites. Why aren't we protected, globally by this anti-Semitic laws? He said, this is a good point. Maybe one of those organizations that are defending the Palestinians, maybe it can take this. So there are many angles. We need organizations to fight in order to stop selling arms to the genociders.
We just had a huge weapons market in Rotterdam the last couple of days.
Okay.
You know what? You know how shameless it was. They were selling Israeli weapons with a stamp of approval, stated it was proven in practice.
Proven in practice against the Palestinians. Okay. So we need
field tested. I think
field tested. We need activists from all angles to try to put embargo, to try to stop selling Israel these weapons. Okay. We need also more pressure on universities to boycott. There are a number of universities that already boycott dealing with Israel. We need more pressure from that perspective.
Now, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, what we're seeing is that they are currently organizing a counterforce to this. So for one of like for instance, the Dutch government is now they brought forth some resolutions within the parliament, which were accepted by a majority of the parliament, to make illegal the organizations which they state are calling for the destruction of Israel. However, at the same time, they also stated that if you say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, they're saying this statement means the destruction of the state of Israel. So basically, if you're saying that if you're calling for freedom for the Palestinian people, there is a chance of the government trying to want to make your organization illegal.
So that's why...
Honestly, for me, sitting with you here with this live stream, I have to think about the things that you're saying and the things that I'm asking to make sure that we have enough disclaimers that we will not be... Because that nobody's going to reframe it into such a message.
Agree. And that's why we need many organizations that support demonstrations, support free speech from a legal perspective.
But honestly, free speech, they never meant free speech.
Of course, Nuruddin, I agree. But we need organizations that, see, Nuruddin. Some people ask me, what is the way forward for Muslims in Europe? Okay. I said, the original European values, free speech, rule of law, democracy. We need them to be implemented honestly. We need them to be implemented honestly, without discrimination, without double standard. We need to be faithful to the implementation of these values.
I often think of the quote of Gandhi. When he was asked, what is your opinion? Because of course he was doing the non-violence resistance against the British colonial powers. He was asked, what's your opinion about the Western civilization? And his reply was, I think it is a good idea. Right? But so...
No, but did you get my point? Did you get my point? Some Muslims,
because it needs to be implemented. But then, how are we going to move forward?
Because it's so Europe is not a Muslim country.
I know, but it is so. It's becoming more and more difficult to say that you don't want children to be massacred.
So that's why. See, by the way, this is a continuous struggle, and we as Muslims, we are the most qualified, nation as a nation, not as individuals, to continue struggling for justice until the day of resurrection. Yes? Because our struggle for justice is linked to our creed, our belief, our faith. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين لله شهداء بالقسط. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله. Allah commanded us to stand for justice. Allah said that لقد أرسلنا رسلنا بالبينات وأنزلنا معهم الكتاب والميزان ليقوم الناس بالقسط. Allah said that He sent prophets in order for people to establish justice. So this is an intrinsic part of our religion. Now, we might not be able to achieve that fully, but we need to what? To continue
to struggle for it.
Struggling for it. And by the way, this, we have to understand this. Now let me talk to Muslims. We have to understand that don't raise your expectations, brothers and sisters, and think that you will live with no struggles, no challenges in this life. No. Allah created this life to be what? Full of challenges. And I say to people, even non-Muslims, I say to people, show me just 50 years of the history of humanity with no struggles, with no wars.
It never existed.
Never existed, because Allah
this
created...
is why I so often refer to when I speak to people about Surah Al-Asr, about we are calling to truth. And we're calling to patience, because if we're only calling to truth without the patience, it is going to fall apart.
Exactly, because we are going to continue, yes, to see the challenges. So for us as Muslims, we need to continue the fighting the different challenges in front of us, in all fronts, politically, even ideologically challenges. Will ideological challenges cease to exist? Will never.
Never.
Never. We will always have the challenges. This is the nature of this life. And Allah Jalla wa Ala is happy and pleased to see us what? Fighting and struggling, yes, the evil. That's it. This is what Allah wants from us. وَأَعِدُّوا لَهُمْ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Yeah. ومن أراد الآخرة وسعى لها سعيها وأن سعيه سوف يرى. The pursuit will be seen. Allah wants to see how much we put effort. That's it. To see victory, not to see victory in our lifetime before we die. This is in the hands of Allah Jalla Ala. So this is my message to all Muslims. Don't give up, because we are struggling, we are fighting the evil, we are fighting the devil, we are fighting anything that is, Allah wants us to fight and stop. We are doing it, and we'll continue to do it until the day of resurrection. This is part of this life. This is part of mudafa. وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ اللَّهِ النَّاسَ بَعْضَهُمْ بِبَعْضٍ. This is part of mudafa. So brothers and sisters, don't raise your expectations that one time you will live in complete peace, because this life is not designed for absolute eternal peace. As simple as that.
This also brings me to something that I expected to touch on the end, but we're getting there now already.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I teach and I speak to my students, and we're talking about how Allah tests us in our lives, and how we have struggles in our lives. And I say, Allah can test you sometimes with things which we consider to be good. So He may test you with riches. See, will you be grateful?
Yeah.
He may test you with difficulty.
Yeah.
To see if you will still be thankful. And people can understand it.
Yeah.
Right? They can understand how Allah may sometimes test a person with them losing their job, or their car, or something like that. It becomes a little bit more difficult, and this is a more theological thing. It becomes more difficult when we're looking at the suffering of the Palestinian people, and when we're looking at the videos of small children still alive underneath the rubble.
Yeah.
And people ask me, and they say, I understand the way that I'm being tested in my life, but what is the hikmah behind Allah allowing this suffering of our children, right, to continue for such a long time?
Okay.
What would be a way for us to respond to it? Because I think it's too easy to say, well, this is not Jannah.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. See, first of all, we need to understand that suffering is not limited to Muslims. Even non-Muslims, in many places in the world, they suffer. Number one. And don't expect that suffering is the physical suffering. Many people who are rich are suffering more than poor people.
I agree, but when it comes to children being alive in the rubbles?
Yeah, I agree. This is for us, those who are watching this, it is considered to be suffering. Yeah? And it is suffering. I'm not saying that it is not suffering, but also other people are suffering. Yeah? So Allah is testing people in different ways. This is one thing. And the key thing is, okay, if we suffer in this life and we compare this life to the hereafter, how long is this life compared to the hereafter?
You're literally asking me?
Yes.
Well, in the Quran, of course, we see that there's like the mention of the people who will look back on their life,
Yeah.
and when they are asked how long were you alive, they will say like 1 day, maybe 2 days.
قالوا لبثنا يوما أو بعض يوم.
Yeah.
This life actually is less than a second compared to what? To the hereafter.
Yeah.
So now, by the way, Allah sees both. Sees this life and sees what is going to happen to those people who are suffering in this life. Yeah, please, brothers and sisters, understand it like this. So Allah is seeing all. And Allah sees that this suffering that is taking place for seconds, or maybe less than seconds compared to what is happening in the, or what they will see in the hereafter. And this suffering that is taking place for seconds is the result for them to be successful for millions of years. Now Allah, yeah, is the all-wise and He sees all of this. What does He choose?
I don't understand your question.
When Allah knows what will happen to those who are suffering now, yes, for the rest of their life, for millions and millions of their years, and He causes this suffering to be, yes, to be the reason for their success for millions and millions.
So Allah understands that the success and the reward is bigger than the suffering, and therefore
that's why
the suffering
Allah
is acceptable.
Jalla will allow this suffering for those people to be what? Successful and happy for the rest of their, not the rest, to be happy eternally. See, for human beings, there are now 3 levels. Yeah? Allah Jalla wa Ala, and human beings, and the person himself. Now, for human beings, they see what is happening in this dunya. They don't see what is happening after death. If they are believers, then they can realize it, but they don't see it. Yes? The individual, he sees what is happening to him in this dunya, and he will see what is happening to him after he dies. Allah Jalla wa Ala sees immediately what is happening now and what will happen later. Because for Allah Jalla wa Ala there is no history, no future. Allah Jalla wa Ala sees everything as an open book. Yeah? So now for us as a human beings, and sometimes for individuals, they will live in the moment of suffering and they are confined by the suffering that they are witnessing now. And that's why they see it as the biggest disaster for them in this.
When I look at some of the images of the fathers, because I got small children.
I agree.
I can literally, so not in a figure of speech, I can literally not imagine being in that position.
I agree.
No, I wouldn't know how I would feel.
I agree. But first of all, Allah will help you. Allah will not let you alone. And the second thing is, yes, that's why we are commanded to have sabr. Okay? Allah Jalla wa Ala sees that this suffering is the reason for you to be successful for millions and millions and millions of years. So Allah chooses for you the happiness for millions and millions and millions of years rather than happiness for a few seconds. However, once we say this, it doesn't mean that we should not stop this suffering.
Yeah.
This is key. We should
because
not
that's
say,
the way that the discussion goes.
We should not say that, well, Allah decreed this, let this happen. We cannot say this whatsoever. Yeah? Allah commanded us to fight His qadar by His qadar. This is what Umar ibn al-Khattab said when the plague started in one of the places. He said, نَفِرُّ مِنْ قَدَرِ اللَّهِ إِلَىٰ قَدَرِ اللَّهِ. We run away from the qadar of Allah by the qadar of Allah. So we are living within the qadar of Allah. So we are commanded to resist the evil. Yes? And as we said, that as far as we resisting the evil, Allah will be pleased, and this is the most important thing. However, let me add to this, that You know that the Zionist project or the occupation, the occupation of Palestine in its worst situation now after 76 years of occupation. It is in its worst situation. Of course.
In what?
Okay, from
what sense?
What perspective? First of all, we have never.
You mean in what they do or internally?
No, in this worst situation, we have never imagined that the ICC will issue an arrest warrant against the leadership of that country.
For genocide.
For genocide. We have never ever imagined that this could have happened. And why did this have happened, by the way? It's not because the ICC was so brave, but because of these demonstrations that people are belittling, because of the atmosphere globally, that gave them the moral boost to take that decision. Otherwise, do you know how many people were massacred by the genociders after the establishment of the ICC and the ICJ? More than 120-something thousand Palestinians.
Yeah, I use the word enough, but obviously in a cynical sense.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. But the ICC and the ICJ, they didn't do anything. And you know that in 19 anyway, when Belgium issued an arrest warrant against Sharon, and at that time Belgium can issue arrest warrant against any leader. America put pressure against Belgium to remove that arrest warrant. Okay, the world has changed. Now there are estimations of almost 1 million of the holders of the Israeli nationality or the dual nationals of Israel have left historical Palestine or Israel. Have left it. Yeah? And they don't want to come back to Israel. Israel now, for so many people, became a toxic state. Yes?
Yeah, also because when it was founded, it was like left socialist, and now it is a very right-wing ruled country.
Even many right-wing people started to abandon Israel because of the genocide that is taking place. Mm-hmm. So Israel now, or this project, is at its worst situation. And see, now one key question. Even if they eliminate the Palestinians from Gaza and West Bank, do they think that the Arabs, the Muslims around them, will forget what they have done to their fellow Muslim Palestinians? The Arabs and the Muslims might be oppressed by some of the political leadership, of the Arabs for some time, but that will never happen for the future.
And honestly, if in the line of thinking we're supposed to put our hope on the neighboring countries?
No, you need to differentiate between. We need always to differentiate, as we differentiated in the West, between political leadership and the masses. Same thing.
So when it comes to the masses, I agree.
Yeah. Okay. So imagine you are living in a state that is surrounded by people who hate you because of what you have done. Yeah? Okay. So the real inner peace will never be submitted, will never exist for the average, for the state of Israel, because of what they have done. So, do they think that even if they eliminate the Palestinians, they can live as a normal state where people are just enjoying their life and getting on with their life. This is impossible. This is impossible. So,
but then what's
anyway,
the outlook there? Because, I mean, we also don't want a counter massacre.
Of course, we don't want a counter massacre. And that's why, see, that's why
international law,
exactly,
rule of law is so important, but that's deteriorating.
Yes, because that is the point. That's why we want a real international law that is able to maintain justice, not to fail justice, yes, in order for people to live
in peace,
to live peacefully, to coexist with each other peacefully. Otherwise, the world, as we always say, that it is becoming a small village. They say this from information perspective, but in reality, not from information perspective. It is interconnected. So a massacre in one place will lead to a massacre or counter massacre in another place, in the same place. Maybe not now, maybe later. So if peace is missing in one place, peace will be missing in many other places. And this is not what we want. And that's why this is a message to non-Muslims.
Yeah, this is also the argument that Nelson Mandela had when he said that they will never be free until Palestine is free.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, this is the whole world. And that's why we want our fellow non-Muslims to join us in this struggle, because as I said in the beginning of this episode, the Palestinian struggle is what? Struggle for freedom, for independence, not of Palestinians, but independence of each nation, each type of people who want to live by themselves independently from the hegemony of certain superpowers.
Now we have at the same time, and there's one topic that, we're getting to the end and we haven't addressed it yet. So with the recent move and the momentum which was sparked after the fighting with the hooligans in Amsterdam, we find there's a very big push within Dutch politics to make moves against the Islamic community. And they are openly talking about, wanting to close some mosques, which they state are calling for the destruction of Israel. I don't know which mosques they are talking about, but okay. They are talking about having more control on what we call informal education. So these are the Quranic schools that we have and the Islamic institutions that we have for raising our children, etc. Which leads the Dutch community, the Dutch Muslim community, to shift their focus very rapidly, because we were much focused on this, on the situation of the Palestinians, but now we see that there's a lot going on inside the country as well. We need to shift focus there. Are there any advices that you have specifically for Muslims in the Netherlands
very good.
when it comes to the policies which are currently being put forth?
Okay, first of all, I strongly believe that within the Dutch and Western people in general, there are so many wise people that they wouldn't accept such things to happen, because they will see that these things will infringe their basic human rights. And they understand that once you infringe the basic human rights of a community within a country, then you are causing havoc within the country itself, and you will infringe against the basic human rights of other communities. This is number one. Now, number of things that we need to do. All these wise people, from the non-Muslims and Muslims have to take the lead in order to reach out to those non-Muslims in order to form coalition against breaking the rule of law in the country, against changing certain laws that might infringe the basic human rights of all, of those communities. This is a must now. Muslims have to be more active in all fronts, politically, legal perspective, media perspective, and also from educational perspective, and also from da'wah perspective. See, if there is, as we said, if there is a push and pull, then there will be somehow a balance. But if there is a push and there is no resistance for this push, there will be no balance of powers. Yeah? And this is what Allah Jalla wa Ala wants from us. وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ اللَّهِ النَّاسَ بَعْضَهُم بِبَعْضٍ. Yeah? Allah Jalla wa Ala mentioned this in 2 verses in the Quran. There will be a balance and equilibrium in people's life if there is a push and resistance for that push. But if there is a push, and there is no resistance, then the justice and the systems and the basic human rights will fall apart. So this is something that Muslims have to do. I strongly advise as well that Muslims establish organizations that defend the legal rights, their human rights. See, many people think, that da'wah is limited to give people da'wah in the masajid or remind them of Allah Jalla wa Ala only. And that's why they don't want to be active politically, they don't want to be active in media, they don't want to be active in the legal sphere.
Yeah, they want to call for prayer, but not for justice.
For justice, exactly. So Muslims have
and by the way, I'm not saying we shouldn't call for prayer, but we should do both.
Oh, yeah, exactly. We should change our mindset. We should change our mindset. The imam should change their mindset. Even in the masajid, they should change their mindset, and they need to be more active politically. Yes? Of course, we are saying that they should be doing that within the rule of law. We don't want people to break the rule of law, and then we claim that, yes?
Obviously.
So we are asking the politicians to follow the rule of law, and we should follow the rule of law. Okay? And even if we are not happy with any law, we should resist that law by law. Yeah? So, and there are procedures and laws for certain things. This is so important. If Muslims need to be involved, by the way, I am calling for Muslims globally to change their mindset towards political activism. It is very unfortunate that Muslims globally, they are passive from political perspective. Maybe their negative experience that they have witnessed in Muslim countries, in Arab countries, made them to have a passive position towards political activism. And we must change this. And who is going to lead that change? Imams and scholars. Because people submit or listen to their imams and scholars. This is so important. Also, see, in terms of da'wah, and let me conclude by this. See, the West appreciate humanities. We as Muslims, because of our background in Muslim countries, we don't give attention to humanities. We need our young people to study law, to study politics, and to study humanities, sociology, arts, psychology. And we need them to present the Islamic point of view regarding sociology, psychology, regarding a change for the world. And now, see, now Muslims have a very golden opportunity that might not be repeated, because the world have witnessed the global injustice that is taking place and that is demonstrated in Gaza. Yeah? And the world, the young people in particular, they are looking for alternatives. They don't see alternatives. Unfortunately, Muslims, du'at, are focusing on Islam as a spiritual solution, which is true. But Islam is not just only a spiritual religion or way of life or solution.
Yeah, so it's corrected, but it's not limited to it.
Exactly. We should present Islam as what? A civilizational alternative, that Islam has and can provide a global, political, just system. Islam can provide global justice. Islam can cater for the needs of all human beings and can correct them as well. Yeah? So we need to present Islam from that perspective. And we need our scholars as well to start thinking of a new ijtihad regarding how to talk to some non-Muslims who might be lefties, who might not be able to practice all the rituals of Islam, but they are interested in the justice of Islam. How to talk to those people? We need also to have the ability and the ijtihad to talk to art people. There are so many sports people, many actors, actresses, singers who want to see something different other than the injustice that is provided to them by their own anti-Islamic countries. So how can we talk to those people? We need to present Islam to them. Yeah. So we have a very golden opportunity as Muslims, especially Muslims in the West. Maybe Muslims in Muslim countries or in the Arab world, they don't see this great opportunity, and they don't have also the freedom to present Islam globally. But we have that freedom. We should seize that opportunity.
Jazakallah khair. Sheikh Haitham, thank you so much again for doing this live stream. We always love having you. Thank you so much. Voor alle mensen die hebben gekeken vanavond, onwijs bedankt. Ik hoop dat jullie dingen hebben gehoord, geleerd, geïnspireerd zijn. Natuurlijk, het is niet een happy, joy livestream geworden. We hebben het over serieuze onderwerpen met serieus leed. Tegelijkertijd, juist in deze hele moeilijke situatie, zien we dus nog steeds dat daar juist kansen liggen. En dat betekent dat we daar natuurlijk op zouden moeten gaan inzetten. En mogen Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ons in staat stellen om ons inderdaad als moslims in te zetten voor een meer rechtvaardige wereld. Voor meer rechtvaardigheid voor mensen individueel. Voor meer rechtvaardigheid op het internationale toneel. En dat de situatie van zoveel individuele mensen en zoveel van onze broeders en zusters zal worden verbeterd in de komende jaren. Amin. Jazakallah khair voor het kijken. Tot de volgende livestream van Dawah-Groep. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.